Parasite was a movie I was looking forward to for a long time, and seeing that it was finally playing in a theater near me, I dropped everything to go check it out as soon as I could, and after letting the movie sit with me for a couple days, this might be the greatest film I've seen all year. In terms of Bong Joon-ho's films, I haven't done the greatest job in keeping up with his filmography. I do know how respected and celebrated he is in the film community, so that alone was enough to get myself in the theater for this movie. But after seeing this film, please believe I will be watching every single one of his films now, because Parasite was outstanding. This is a film that grabs your attention right away. You get to know the main characters of the film, their conflict, and their solution in about 10 to 15 minutes. The story unfolds so organically with tension building slowly throughout the entire runtime. It was an incredibly intriguing story to watch, and there were moments in the film where I was on the edge of my seat in suspense. The last time I felt this type of tension was when I watched Argo back in 2012. The performances from everyone in the film was incredibly well done. There were no weak performances and every single character added something to the story. It helps that every character was interesting, so there wasn't a moment where I wished this character was on screen instead of that one. The cinematography was beautiful and fit the tone the film was going for. As I was watching this film, I felt like I had escaped the real world. I was completely immersed in the story. Nothing else mattered. All I could think about is the story being presented to me. It was one of those rare moments where I suddenly stopped paying close attention to the structure of the film because I was so invested in the characters. At times I had to force myself to think critically about the film because I was so fixated on the conflict that was going on. At about an hour in is when this film goes all in, and that's when I stopped trying to be a critic and just let myself get invested in the story. I know I should relax and enjoy movies more instead of just viewing them critically, but I can't help it. The pacing was perfect as the story progression was seamless. The plot points in the film flowed together in a way that you don't even realize that the 3-act structure is being utilized. All of the twists that were being presented in the film were handled well, considering how some of the things going on in the later half of the film were ambitious to say the least. If it were not for such a skilled director behind the camera, I'm certain we would not be talking as highly of this film as we are now. Bong Joon-ho had a daunting screenplay to direct, and without mastery of the craft, this film falls apart real quick. It reminds me in a way of Gone Girl. If you take David Fincher away from the director's chair, that movie becomes a generic, everyday mystery thriller film. There's a lot going on in that screenplay, just like in Parasite, that requires someone of high skill behind the camera. I am very glad to say that this film was grounded in reality, and never for a second did I not believe what I was watching. I will say, however, if I did have to be incredibly picky, I would say that the film could have ended maybe 5 minutes earlier. As it was nearing the end, there were a few spots where I thought the film was going to end, but it kept going. Then it comes another point where I thought it was over, and again it kept going. Until finally it was over, and all I could think about is that it should have ended a couple minutes sooner. Now clearly this is a very small issue that does not ruin the film, but this was my final impression leaving the theater, so that tiny little issue stuck with me. But disregarding the fact that the film could have ended slightly sooner, everything else the movie had to offer was damn near perfect. The performances were all masterful, which is necessary when there's this many cast members. Bong Joon-ho's directing was fantastic. The tension that was in the film was so gripping that it had me on the edge of my seat, biting my nails for about an hour. And the cinematography serves the film well, with some absolutely beautiful shots and color grading. This is definitely one of 2019's best films, and I'm starting to think it might be my favorite of the year thus far. I do need to rewatch this and a couple other films to solidify that statement, but what I just experienced with Parasite is something I can barely put to words without sounding like an incoherent film fanatic. I would highly recommend this movie to everyone, even if foreign films aren't your thing. This is a foreign film that anyone can watch and will be invested in right away. It is able to be crowd pleasing while showcasing some of the strongest filmmaking ever put to screen. Watch this as soon as you can. This is one of 2019's best.